And welcome back to another video. This is that time pirates started a country and they named it Somalia. Um, Welcome back to another video by Historically. I'm oh my goodness. I'm Draco and I'm here with
Grim,
and we'll see how pirates started a country.
Quick! Leave your stupid farmer job and become a privateer, so we make sure France doesn't become a global super. Alright, thanks guys. The War of the Spanish Succession is over. Well, I suppose that I gotta thank you somehow. You're fired. Get out of my office. Well, that sucks. What are we supposed to do with all these warships, cannons, and not vitamin C's that we bought ourselves? We could start our own pirate republic on the strategically placed island of Nassau. Yes, let's do it. And so, over 1,500 battle-hardened Spanish, and now British-hating lads, sailed across the globe ready to claim their new hangout spot. And they quite literally just claimed it, even though it's one of the most strategically important spots in the Atlantic. Let's talk about that for a bit. And hi, my name is Pirate Oliver. I like pirates. Historically Facts, Part 12. Alright, so how did this pirate country start? Well, the year is 1666, 35 years before the War of the Spanish Succession. Or rather, the war about which powerful family gets to own Spain and its territories. Which was a lot. It was a time of peace, international friendship, and who am I kidding? Every major power was 24/7 raiding each other's colonies and ships. One day, in 1666, a young Brit almost banks his ship on the shallow shores of a very conveniently positioned island. He names it, very patriotically, Charlestown, named after the King of England. Charles I? Odd name. He starts gathering his friends, and slowly and surely, they build a fort. A small town to make it truly Charlestown and not Charles Rock, and start to trade with the nearby locals. It's a nice, cute, little colonial community. Shame I'm going to burn it down, says the Spanish admiral in 1684. And he did. The whole town was turned to charcoal, and the colonists were bullied off the island. But just like cockroaches, the British popped up again. And to throw the Spanish off, this time they named the island Nassau, named after the recently appointed Protestant King of England, William III. I don't get it. Willem was part of the Nassau family, that's why it's called Nassau. Oh yeah, that makes sense. The British rebuilt the whole island, slapped a fancy, stronger fort on top, and audibly laughed at the Spanish every time they tried to take the island. Fast forward to the 1700s, and we are now in the early stages of the War of the Spanish Succession. England is still laughing at Spain's attempt to reclaim the island, but then Big Bro jumps in to help Spain, and the island gets flattened a second time. This time, they made sure to spray French artifacts everywhere. You know, so those annoying Brits wouldn't return. With the whole island flattened again, it became abandoned. Technically, it was under British rule, but in practice, there was no government, no defense, and no law. Just a beautiful port,
Imagine sucking at colonialism could never be me.
empty buildings, and broken walls. Yep, don't mind me, I'm just selling rum. Oh no. Run! Ever heard
This
of
is
Blackbeard? How
quite a
about
bit
Jack
loud.
Rackham?
Hey, that's me.
Maybe Charles Vane. All these pirate legends had their pirate careers from Nassau. Hell, even the most known pirate flag is from Nassau itself. But just like a crew needs a captain, Nassau needed a pirate governor. Meet, and I'm not making this name up, Benjamin Hornigold. You couldn't get a more piratey name even if you tried. As a privateer turned pirate, he looked at the chaos that was unfolding on the island and said, alright, enough is enough. If we want this all to work out, we need to put some rules on the ground. He gathers the captains, tells them to put the swords down and to stop headbutting over whose pirate is actually cooler, and finally start building what would become the world's first accidentally democratic pirate commune. And the pirates? They listened. Effectively, Hornigold forged himself into becoming the first president of the Pirate Republic. His first act as president was to enforce rules. For example, from now on, crews voted for their captains. No longer the loudest guy gets to automatically be the leader. Another big reform was that loot was now to be shared fairly. And most reforming of them all, if you lost, for example, a leg during battle, you got compensated for the work hazard. But Hornigold, for all his pirateness, had
It's a
one
stupid
very
name.
weird quirk.
Horny
He
gold.
refused to attack English ships. And he would happily rob a Spanish galleon blind, torch a French sloop, and pants a Dutch merchant captain in broad daylight. But if you were flying the Union Jack, he would tip his hat and say, "Cheerio, mate," which was a little awkward, considering the entire point of Nassau was just taking it to the British Empire. So, after ruling the pirate country for 3 years, the pirates voted for a different president. And he was succeeded by none other than his spooky bearded apprentice, Edward Teach, aka Blackbeard. Blackbeard wasn't interested in building a republic, he was building a brand. He lit fuses in his beard, strapped pistols across his chest, and draped himself in black like a pirate in Batman. Okay, show off, you might think, but this whole brand building was actually genius. The stories of him and his crew became known all across the Atlantic. Everyone was afraid of the pirate maniac. Merchant ships surrendered the moment they saw his flag, practically donating the loot. Nassau flourished under Blackbeard's rule. The harbor filled with ships, markets popped up selling stolen cargo, bad rum, and maybe one or two cursed objects. Pirates of all flags poured into Nassau. British, Irish, American, Afro-Caribbean, even a few confused Scandinavians. Nassau had become the Las Vegas of the Atlantic. No rules, no kings, and definitely no taxes. Cool, said Blackbeard during his 3rd year as a president. Anyway, I'm bored. So he sailed north, made deals, blockaded entire ports, and left the Republic in somewhat capable hands? Well, not more capable than the sponsor of this video, Quillbot. I like
Quillbot.
writing about pirates and, well, I guess
Never heard of this one. Quillbot.
it's good again. Sure.
And I wouldn't I would have never seen Blackbeard as a president at one point in time, or sometime. That is blinding me.
When you're powerful and you're you're kind of like the quote unquote like ideal pirate, like you know,
Yeah, I get it. I
I
get it.
think they just automatically kind of elect you.
And give it a shot. If you don't like it, just get rid of it. Just like Blackbeard got rid of his presidency. Anyway, meet the 3rd and most radical president of the Pirate Republic, Charles Vane. Imagine if anger had a body, yeah, that was Charles Vane. While Hornigold was the rule maker and Blackbeard was the showman, Vane was the edgelord extremist. He believed the only good British ship was a burning one, and diplomacy was for cowards and poets. Cool. No wait, not cool. In 1718, the year when Vane got president, there was a massive influx of pirate settlers due to the massive layoffs in the European countries. Everyone went to Nassau, which the King of England, Willem III, started to notice due to literally every ship sailing towards America. Huh. Salutations! Yar, ya scallywag. Where are ye sailing to? Cringe? How dare you address your king like... where are we sailing off to, matey? Haven't you heard? Nassau has become the place for all the privateers who got laid off. We're going to start our own pirate country, with blackjack and cookers. The king can stick it up his arse for having us fight all this time for his country, just to fire us the day after. Oh, I see. Alright, thank you. Hey, how's that for up your arse, huh? Now that the teacher knows about their cool hideout, the Nassau boys were getting a bit anxious. Sure, they can plunder a merchant ship or two, but the Royal Army? That's not an easy fight. Worst yet, more and more warships started to appear on the horizon, and leading those ships was Woodes Rogers. But before we get to him, let's check in with our pirate president Charles Vane, who was, at this point, having a little moment. See, Charles wasn't much of a surrender guy, or a talking guy, or a not burning things guy. So when Woodes Rogers politely sailed into Nassau and asked, "Hey lads, maybe stop being criminals?" Vane responded by lighting his ship in the harbor on fire and sending it straight at him. Is this our plan? It wasn't, but Charles thought it was. But Charles thinks a lot of things, to be honest. One guy especially not loving the flaming ship as diplomacy approach was Charles's quartermaster, a guy named Jack Rackham. You might know him better as Calico Jack, named after his favorite fabric and least favorite survival instinct. Jack had been Vane's right-hand man for months now. He'd seen the screaming, he'd seen the fire, he'd seen the moment Charles tried to headbutt a seagull for looking at him wrong, and Jack, credit where it's due, had his concerns. Sure, Charles started out as a fiery, brutal pirate, inspiring others, and probably got to be president because of that. But recently, he was off. For example, a couple months prior, they were on this massive warship of theirs, and about to plunder a teeny-tiny French merchant ship, which they absolutely could have taken. Charles made the call to back off due to the risks of losing. That's not very captain-y-like. He also got his ass whooped by a lesser drunk, damaging his reputation yet again. And now finally, while a literal firing squad is on the horizon, ready to hang each and every pirate, instead of bargaining for the safety of the island's troublemakers, he basically declared war on them. New vote, new vote. And just like that, Charles Vane was out. And his extra flamboyant sidekick was in. Meet the fourth and final president of the Pirate Republic. And the pirates couldn't have chosen a better president. Jack was an insanely skilled war general. He was so good, in fact, that modern historians compare him to legends like Hannibal and Alexander the Great. Jack called the pirates together, set up a combat plan, and absolutely crushed Woodes Rogers and his fleet. There were only 1,500 pirates on the island, but they could shoot really well, I tell ya. Then, feeling ambitious, the pirates sailed and laid siege to England. Even though they were outnumbered by 1 to 1,000, they destroyed the British defenses and captured England, effectively renaming it to the United Pirate Kingdom. Then, after stumbling into Oppenheimer and Heisenberg at the same time, who just finished their nuclear bomb, they threw it on Spain and France, and everyone died.
What?
The end. No wait, this isn't an alternative history video. Let's rewind a bit. And he liked tomboys, which isn't just a throwaway joke, it's historically accurate. See, Jack Rackham fell in love with Anne Bonny, who was a female pirate who, due to sexism on the work floor, disguised herself as a man. And later Jack also fell in love with Anne's bestie, Mary Red, who also disguised herself as a man. Both of them carried swords, both of them could absolutely destroy you in a bar fight, and both of them, for some unfathomable reason, liked Jack back. It was an unfathomable reason because Jack was probably the worst pirate that ever existed. He put all his skill points in charisma and 0 in leadership and war tactics. He couldn't fight on equal grounds and only preyed on smaller merchant ships. And you best bet your ass that he could in no way, shape or form beat Woodes Rogers and his royal backing. If Rogers wanted to, he could have at any time signaled his fleet to attack, and without a shiver of doubt killed each pirate on the island. But Rogers was sympathetic. He was a privateer himself during the Spanish Succession War, and he himself was a victim of corporate downsizing. During the war, he led one of the most successful privateering expeditions in British history. He circumnavigated the globe, captured Spanish treasure ships, and came home to parades and praise. Naturally, the government thanked him by the only way it knew how. By, instead of firing him, they forgot about him and let him go bankrupt. He sank all his money into the war effort, didn't get reimbursed properly, and ended up in debtor's prison for a bit. But then, in classic Empire logic, the British were like, "Hey Woodes, remember that pirate problem we ignored for a decade? Wanna go fix it?" And Roger said, "Sure, can I have my money back?" The British said no, but if you can get rid of them, you can be the governor. May you drown in your teacup. Alright, fine, I'll do it. Long story short, Rogers knew how it feels to be betrayed by the same country you fought 12 years for, and understood why his war comrades turned to piracy in the times of need. So, he sent them an ultimatum. If you surrender, we will pardon you of any crime you've committed, basically allowing you to start with a clean slate. However, if you don't, you'll know what happened. And our fourth president, Jack Rackham, he felt like he just hit the net 20 roll on that charisma check. What a lucky escape. And so, Calico Jack, pirate president and certified tomboy enthusiast, stood before Woods Rogers and said, "Absolutely, sir. Thank you, sir. Piracy? Never heard of it, sir." He took the pardon,
Never heard
signed
of
his
it.
name, posed dramatically, probably blew a kiss, and promised to never touch another ship again. 2 months later, he stole a sloop from Nassau's own harbor and went straight back to pirating, like the whole pardon thing had just been a dream. I mean, bless Roger's heart, but we're talking about pirates here. They were once esteemed privateers, but after more than 10 years on a pirate island, you will slowly develop a "frick you, I do what I want" mentality. Anyway, after Jack
Sure.
and many others in July of 1718 accepted the pardon, the Pirate Republic of Nassau was officially dead. Playtime's over, lads. Go home to your wife and kids. We left for bloody 12 years. But now comes the fun part. What happened to our main characters? Did they all take the deal? Or did some, Charles Vane, flip them off and continue pirating? Well, let's go down the list, shall we? Charles Vane did not take the deal at all. In fact, when offered the king's pardon, he reportedly said, "I would rather die a pirate than live like a servant." Bold words for a man who would, shortly after, be abandoned by his own crew. Yep, after a series of bad calls and even worse luck, Vane lost his ship, lost his men, and got captured. He was shipped back to Jamaica, where the government gave him exactly what he asked for: death. They hanged him in 1721. He died as he lived, angrily. Blackbeard also did not take the pardon, but he played the game longer. He kept raiding ships of the Carolinas, made shady deals with corrupt governors, and even threw a retirement party for himself at one point. It didn't help. The British Navy eventually caught up with him. In 1718, he was ambushed and killed in a brutal battle. It reportedly took 5 bullets and over 20 sword wounds to bring him down. And then they chopped off his head and hung it from the bow of their ship. You know, for vibes. Hornigold? Plot twist, he did take the pardon. Not only that, but he switched sides. Hornigold went from pirate president to pirate hunter. He spent the last years of his life capturing his former friends and delivering them to the British. I guess karma took that somewhat personal, because not much later he died in a shipwreck in 1719. Yikes. Jack Rackham?
Can't make
You already
this
know
up.
how that went. He got pardoned, then pirated again, and surprise surprise, then got captured. His execution wasn't exactly cinematic. He was caught drunk, tried by court, and hanged like an amateur. But let's talk about the real stars. Anne Bonny and Mary Red. They fought like hell when the British came. Legend says they were the only 2 crew members still on their feet when the ship was boarded. Jack was passed out drunk. They were furious. The girls were both captured and sentenced to hang, but both pleaded the belly, claimed to be pregnant. It worked for Anne and she got out scot-free, but not for Mary, who died in prison. Anne disappeared from the records. Some say she died shortly after, some say she lived a quiet life. Some say she disguised herself again and became a tree this time. Nassau was
What?
cleaned up, fortified, and turned into a proper colony under Woods Rogers. The fort was rebuilt, the pirates were gone, and over time, the Republic faded into legend. I like pirates.
You know what? That was an interesting video.
What a yeah, very interesting.
Probably one of the more surprising things was me was tomboys back in the 1700s.
Look, man, you ever seen that poster for the women's movement back during what was it, World War II? With the girl, her name is with the girl flexing her arm,
Uh,
saying you can do it. Pretty sure
this
we can do it. Yeah, like come on, bro. There have always been women like that.
and I had to
It's a
make
part of their nature. Huh?
I had to make sure because I knew I heard that name somewhere, and then yeah, it was near the
Oh, bro. Wait, hold up. Go up. No, zoom in, bro. I've been there before. Scroll up. Freeport. I've been there. We went on a we went on a cruise. I never knew that I stepped foot on.
I said,
Oh, that makes a lot of sense though.
cause
I legit stepped foot on it.
I was like, I heard of Nasu, but I couldn't remember where it was. So during the video, I had to look it up, and I was like, oh,
You been there?
oh no, I don't think I. Well, did I leave? I think I left the. I don't think I've been to the Bahamas. Have I? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe not like here specifically though. I can tell you that much. Oops, and there we go. But yeah, that was a very interesting video. I mean, I enjoyed it. Learn about some pirate lore.
Learn about the pirate island. There's always like recreations and shit before, but I never knew that it was. I I didn't know I stepped foot on it. You know, that's completely news, like new news to me.
Like I guess we sort of figured that out pretty early on. Uh, 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 but I mean, only how long did it last again? Did he say it like 12 years?
Ooh,
Maybe no, no, that's not right. Uh, Not even. That's like what 3,
that's 6 years.
5. Okay, yeah, 6 years. I guess the 12 came from just them being abandoned from Britain.
Yeah,
The history of the Pirate Republic. All right, well, I mean, I enjoyed this video. Learned a lot. Uh, didn't know Blackbeard was a leader of a nation at one point, but you know. All right, well, if you enjoyed the video, click the like button, subscribe if you're new. Uh, I don't have anything else. I don't have anything else.
me neither.
All right, then. Peace.